Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we'll be talking about how to make catchy art melodies, as well as kind of just go over how to make like emotional, compelling melodies in general. Before we get started, just want to do a big shout out to some really talented artists that basically like just taught me everything that I'm about to share today. And so big shout out to Nat from Caslo, Amadeus, as well as my boy Severman. All right, let's get right into this tutorial. All right, so basically the first method we're going to take a look into is just kind of like creating melodies, using the sevenths, nines suspended, the third of the chord and stuff like that. Now, you don't always have to stick to this. It's just like basically something good to like keep in mind, and then after that you can just kind of like go with wherever you feels right to you. For me personally, like I have like a piano background, so when I would kind of like get kind of stuck or just kind of like not too sure like what note I should put next, I would just kind of like think about, oh yeah, let's just try the sevenths or ninths or suspended and see how it works. And that's usually what kind of like gave that sound or emotion that I was looking for. But like if you don't know any theory, don't worry about it. This is just kind of like a good starting point, and again, welcome to go on your own. And I'll also kind of like show you a bit of the basics on like how you can apply the same knowledge into writing your music in the case that you don't really have too much theory. And my theory honestly is not really that good either, so I could probably maybe call the chord name wrong or whatever, but as long as you get the basic idea, that's all that really matters. But yeah, so basically we're gonna, if you haven't checked out the that Arp or my Mitis tutorial yet, we're basically gonna take a look over that Arp that Mitis made, or that I tried to recreate that I thought Mitis made, and then we'll also apply the same example or do another example using the same principles or fundamentals. So I'm just gonna write everything in C just to make things easier. But yeah, basically a really good starting point that you can try that Amadeus taught me was, starting with the 1 and 5 of the key for your notes for your arp, and then again using the sevens, a combination of the sevens, nines suspended, and all that stuff. So we're going to be the key of C major. So again, that's probably most of you already know by now is just everything is going to be in the white key. So the 1 of the C major key is C, and then the 5 will be the G. Because we have 1 and 2 is D, 3 is the E, 4 is F, and 5 G. So, and generally, for the most part, as long as you're not like doing some like crazy advanced stuff, going outside of the major key, the 5 and the 1 of the key is going to be a safe note, probably throughout like your entire chord progression. So in this case, we're going to start with the 5 first, and then the 1. Just, rather than doing 1-5, we're doing 5-1, a bit of a different variation, really. Probably just put this up an octave, and we're doing 16th notes, and then we're going to do an E, because this will be the 7th of the F major chord. So I'm just going to draw the chord here to make it a little bit easier, and then we can go from there. So the F chord, F major chord. So the reason why the E is the 7th is because so F is the 1, G is 2 of the F chord, 3 is the A, 4 is the B, 5 C, 6 D, and then 7th. So 7th E, and then 8 F. Hence why we have the 7ths. And technically speaking, this would be the G is the 9th, because then 8, 9. But again, like I'm only looking at it in terms of just the top note, because again, the 5 and the 1 is pretty much safe. So yeah, so we're basically just gonna do this, duplicate it, and then you can add kind of like a grace or passing note to taste. So already you're kind of getting that like different sound, because if you do the F, like that works, but it doesn't have that same kind of tension sound, which I just really like. Again, this is what I like, so go with what your ear and what you like, and that's the way to go. And then we're basically just going to duplicate that again, we're just going to use the 5 and the 1. But this time, we're going to move this note down to the D. And the reason why the D will work is because we have the G chord next. I'll draw out the chord for you guys after too. So the G chord, so the G being the 1 of the G chord, A 2, 3 is the B, C is the 4, and then 5 is the D. So we're basically, that's the 5. And that's why it works. Again, technically we have like a suspended here too, but again, those are the safe notes, so that's why I'm only, again, just looking at the top notes. And then you, top notes just to draw the melody, that is. And then basically you can add like a grace or like a passing note again. And then this one, we're actually going to move this one down to a B, and then C, and then I'll probably do this passing note. And this one's hitting the 9th. Again, I'm not entirely sure of the name, so may want to look that up just to be safe. So we have the A chord, which is next. So the 9th of the A. So 1, A chord is A. This is the A minor chord, I believe. Yeah, A minor. A minor. So A, 1, 2, B, 3, C, D, 4, E, 5, 6 is the F, 7 is a G, A, and then 9. Again, like I said, this could, like this 2 here could be like a suspended chord, suspended 2 chord. I'm not entirely sure. Again, you might want to look that up just to be sure, but basically that's kind of like, you know, the idea of how it would, like, you know, create that tension kind of sound. So this is what it sounds like after. And then after that, we can leave this one here and then probably just bump this to a G. And then whatever, just do that to taste, whatever. And this is basically the C chord. I'm pretty sure by, you know, by now. So C, and the G of the C is the 5th. And then together you get like this. And then if you were just to like do the notes, just quickly do this in. I don't want to spend too long on this. I have like 2 videos already on like how to do emotional chords. So if you want to learn how to do that, feel free to just take a look at that video. But yeah, I'm just going to do this really quickly. So this is basically the sound of the ARP. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do another example using the same concepts for a second ARP. So basically here I have just an arpeggiator doing at the 16th notes, just so that way I don't have to, like, you know, manually put them in. The only difference is that if you manually put them in, then you have the bonus of, you know, adding the grace notes, but this is just kind of like a faster way to do it. So completely up to you on like what you want to do. But basically, we're going to do the same concepts, the same chord progression, just a little bit different in terms of notes. So we'll do the G and C again. Probably just do it the whole way. And then we'll do C, E. So we're doing the same sevenths. But this time we can go up. So that's also a really good way to, like, when you're doing ARPs, you can like go down if you like, you can also go up, or you can do a mix and match, completely up to you, and you know, whatever, like, you know, you like the most, go for that. So this is what we have so far. And the B works because that's the 5th, the G, so the G being here, or the 3rd actually, G chord, so G1, 2, and 3. Same idea. We'll do the C here, and we'll do the B here. So keeping that same, like, I think 9th or whatever it was. then if you want, you can probably do this too. It just might not like have the same like, you know, pattern or 3. So yeah, you know, whatever really works. And then this one, we can also do the same one as the one that we just did. And then just do that, and that can work. So that one can work. And then you can also go up 2. I just don't think, like, it might not be, you know, ideal to use like the B and the D, because the D is already using more of like, you know, more of the advanced type of chord. You're using the same kind of like, you know, idea that I just showed. So I'll kind of just play it for you. Like, it could work, but it might be a little bit too much tension. Just really depends on what you like more. So yeah, I think for me, I like this C and D more if I was going to add the D. But just for personal preference, I like the, you know, the feel of what the B and G did more. Yeah, but again, completely up to you. But that's basically, you know, the basic idea on how you can do your ARPs in such a fashion. So one Severman showed me was basically, you know, doing just CGC the whole entire way. And then maybe like at the end of, you know, this bar here, you do a little bit of variation or something. Yeah, something like that. And I think Severman said this is like what Monse does. It was like a common thing that he does, and I guess a lot of other progressive artists or progressive house artists do in their tracks. Yeah, so basically like that can definitely work, and these ARPs I would say aren't really like a leading ARP melody. It's more of just like a background ARP to kind of like accompany the singer or your lead melody, basically, I would say. You could probably turn it into one, but I think it's going to have to be a little bit more dynamic to keep the listener interested, which we'll go over in the next section of this video. And so basically Severman's idea is like, you know, the same principles, is basically just using the C, the 1/5, and the 1 up an octave, and a little bit of variation at the end of each, like every 2 bars or something like that. And so yeah, I'll just give you another example, a few more examples, and then we can move forward, because they're basically just the same principles that you can do. This one's like 1/8 notes. You can just do the classic, like again 1/5, 1/5 1 again, something like this. Yeah, and then there you go. So that's also a nice background ARP that you can do. Doing the 1/8 notes, that's one that Amadek showed me. And then this is the same principle here. Basically just following the chord. So basically these bottom notes are the chord. A combination of the 5 and the 1 again. This is the key of B. So B, a 5, the B major key is F sharp or G flat, and then B is the 1. And then this is like, I think the 3, 2, and 4, 2, 2, and you know 2, 2. So it's basically just following the same principles of following the chord, and then you know, make an ARP melody out of that. And then I think this is a sus right here, and then I just did some like variation. So this is what it sounds like. So yeah, it's literally just the same idea, following the chords, and like kind of like, you know, what's in key obviously, and using a mixture of like a bit of advanced chords and the 1 and 5. All right, so the next one, now we're going to kind of move over to like almost creating ARP melodies that can almost be a lead melody, and almost also like kind of going into like how to like create compelling like lead melodies as well. We're going to basically use like very similar principles, but just a little bit different because we're going to add a bit more variation to some of the ARPs. So I think someone asked me like a very long time ago the sound of the ARP that I used in my upcoming track that I haven't really released yet, but I did preview it a few times in some of my other videos. Basically, this is the sound design of it. I took a Mitis ARP that was like in his free Silence pack, and then I just did some modifications. I can't exactly remember what I did because it was kind of a long time ago. But I think like I adjusted the pitch AB to like not have that like, Mitis kind of pitch sound. I probably adjusted some of these, and then also like adjusted some of these parameters as well to kind of like make it sound what I wanted to sound like. Yeah. So that's basically it. 2 saws, cut off the taste, ASDR to taste, filter type low pass, some drive, warm drive, distortion, EQ, reverb, and just basic EQ and delay here. And that's really it for that. So yeah, let's go ahead and then like, make an ARP melody. We're actually going to reference the one off of the track that I did. So I'm going to start in C because it's easier for me, and then we'll move it to like a certain like key that I want. So yeah, the 1 and 5 again, C and G. This time we're doing the 7ths of the chord B and 1. And we'll change the BPM to 128 because every progressive house track is like 128. But yeah, and then after every like almost 2 bars or so, we're going to add some variation to keep the listener a bit more interested. Oh, wrong note. And then we're basically going to duplicate that out, and then doing the same type of variation again, but a different one. So basically, there's not really too much theory going on here that I know of. This is more of just like, just using your ear now. But there is a certain structure here, as you can kind of see. Like we basically have a compelling enough hook, in my opinion, because melodies are just subjective, and really some people might think this melody doesn't sound that great, and that's just going to be how it is, But so that's why it's really just important to do melodies that you like, and that's what really matters. But there's some structure here that you can see that we're doing kind of like this type of like hook, or whatever you want to call it, and then we have a turnaround, which is this, and then we have the same hook again, but a different turnaround, which kind of like keeps that interest basically for your listener. We'll definitely have some more examples too, but basically that's that. And then I'm just going to actually create a chord progression around this really quickly. Okay, so this is basically the chord progression that we have that's going to go with it. And then we're going to move it to a certain key that I like. Probably A would be a good key. Now we have this. We can also do the kickstart, give it that classic bounce for every progressive house track. So yeah, that's basically, you know, a type of ARP that you can do. I think it might be I think this is a little too repetitive. I would, at least in my opinion, to make as a leading kind of like melody. But it's a nice different approach on creating ARPs that can possibly create more interest for the listener. And I don't know if this is going to work. It really just depends. But like, you can do the same thing again, but then add more variation at the end of it. I think. Yeah, I think that. Let me see. Yeah, I think that should work. If not, you'll get the basic idea, basically. Yeah, that works. And like the reason why, like, you know, it adds that extra interest is because like the listener is expecting this to come again, but then we hit them with a different one at the cadence or whatever it's called. I forgot. My homeboy Spence was kind of teaching me this, and it just resolves really well. So that's also a really nice extra way to add extra interest or ear candy, you know, in your melodies and stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at an actual like lead melody. This might be the melody from my homie Che. He's a lo-fi artist. I could be completely wrong with the melody as well. I'm not too sure. But you know, a lot of similar mechanics, except I feel like this has a more compelling melody that you can like create for an actual like drop melody. This is what it sounds like. And I think it's probably in a completely different key of one of his tracks too. But yeah, you'll basically get the same, you know, idea. Yeah, so it's very similar concepts, but I do feel like the you know, the melody here is, you know, a bit more complex enough to, you know, keep that listener interested. So this one is just like completely by ear, but a lot of that same structure, you know, is very similar to what I was talking about. So we have our hook here, and then we have that turnaround that resolves basically, because I think this is in the key of E flat. I mean, if you think about it, it's very similar to like this is the 3 of the key, and then the 1 and the 5 again, 2, 1, and 5. But again, just, you know, use your ear. That's where it's at, you know. Like one thing about this is like don't over obsess, you know, about the theory and stuff, because that's usually when you probably get stuck in your head. But you know, kind of like use it as a nice tool to get you started, and then after that you can just kind of do your own thing. That's the way to go about it. I feel like don't over obsess, like, oh shit, this is not the 7s or the 9s or whatever, then I can't do it. Like, no, just do whatever you feel is right to you. But yeah, basically we have our hooks here, and then we have that turnaround. It's the same idea, you know, with that turnaround in the ARP basically. And then we have a hook again, but with a different turnaround, which again keeps the listener interested, because if you did the same turnaround, like it might get a little, you know, not as interesting just because like the listener already heard it. So it's a good way to add some variation to your tracks. So we'll just give an example, you know, of it here again. I mean, technically that could work, but you know, as a listener, I would expect, you know, something a little bit different to add that variation. And then you can do the same thing again, you know, for the next, like, you know, 4 bars after. Again, you have the same hook and turnaround, but then at the last 8 bars here, you change up that turnaround again to, you know, add that extra interest to your listener. And then additionally, when we look at this, there's, you know, kind of going back to the structure, it's like the rhythm is usually always staying the same for the most part. Like you don't want to deviate from the rhythm too much, otherwise the listener can't really follow along what's going on. So just for example, like let's say for example, like if I were to like kind of deviate from you know, the rhythm here, for example, let's see how it would sound. So already you're like, oh, what just happened right there, right? So I mean, obviously, you know, I made it quite obvious, but you know, you get the basic idea is that you generally want to stick to a certain structure, you know, melodically. Like, you know, for example, like you don't want to go too crazy on the scale where like, you know, this is like all the way up here and, you know, that is all over the place. Then it just kind of gets messy, you know? I mean, that's not even in key probably, but right, so you know, you basically get the basic idea. Like, you don't want to go too crazy on where all the notes are. You kind of want to keep a structured note, as well as rhythmically. You also want to keep that structured too. And then for like the turnarounds, you know, you have a little bit of leeway. You know, like that's when you can perhaps change the rhythm a little bit. But again, it's still kind of like following along, you know, what we did here, where it's like the F comes in at the same spot, and then you have the G come in, but then you hit them with the D and then D sharp or E flat, and that kind of like, you know, so the turnaround can give you a little bit of leeway, and then you do the same like rhythmic turnaround again, because A, you know, same length as that F, and if we don't do that again, it's just gonna sound kind of like weird here. Yeah, so that's something that you definitely want to keep in mind as you are creating your melodies. And then let me show you a very same idea from a progressive house track that actually I worked on after a session with Severman. He kind of gave me this idea of this like rhythmic idea as well as like melodic choice idea, and I basically just changed the chords, changed the key, and but use like the same type of like rhythmic idea as well as like a very similar melodic idea but with a different chord progression. I'll just play everything. It's gonna, no, obviously it's not mixed at all, it's just ideas, but you basically get the same exact like basic principles. So yeah, it's like literally the same concept, a little bit of different approach in terms of like melody writing, but you know, same principles. And then like you have the same turnaround here to add that variation, and then a different turnaround this time to add more variation to keep the listener interested. And basically, like, you know, with these turnarounds, this is something that, you know, Amadeus taught me. It's basically like with these turnarounds, you can basically go a bit more like exotic, or basically just kind of like use the more advanced chords, like again, the sevenths, ninths, suspendeds and stuff. So that's basically the basic idea, you know, of these turnarounds here is like, you know, I'm not entirely sure, you know, what chord this is. It might be like a ninth or, you know, four, I don't know. But, you know, that's kind of like what gives it that sound. You know, it doesn't always have to be like this, but again, it's a good starting point. And again, you know, just kind of, you know, doing what's right to you. So yeah, I mean, and after this video, if you're, you know, struggling with melodies still, it's just like a muscle, you know, the more you practice and the easier, the better you'll get. So just keep freaking going. You'll definitely get there eventually, as you keep grinding it out. So yeah, that's really gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, hit the bell notification symbol so you know when my next video goes live. Also, please follow me on my Instagram. I post like shorter, you know, production tips on there, as well as my TikTok as well. And then also join the Discord server. I'm looking to create a community where we can all like kind of help each other grow, give each other feedback and stuff like that. Just basically have like a community of producers all just trying to help each other out. So if that sounds like something, you know, you'd be interested in, feel free to join. As always, I will leave all the links in the description below. Thank you so much again for watching. Until next time, much love. Peace out.